Gentleman from Texas, Mr. Gohmert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Deputy Director, if Nicholas Cruz had been arrested at some point for the various acts of violence that were reported both at home and in school, would those arrests have shown up in his NCIC background check?
Yes, sir, they would have.
And so that would also come into play if someone checked the NCIC records. We're trying to determine his mental status. It still shows up for them to consider, correct?
It would have showed a criminal history status of some sort, yes, sir.
But without ever having an arrest for the many acts of violence that we're told occurred, when someone runs a background check, a criminal background check, there is nothing that shows up, correct?
No criminal history, sir.
Right.
That's correct.
So it doesn't matter how many people he threatened, how many chairs he threw, how many people he struck or assaulted, none of that ends up in the criminal background check unless there is an arrest, correct?
That's correct, Senator, or Congressman.
In your written testimony and reporting, you indicated that the January 5 caller said that Nicholas Cruz made reference to ISIS on his Instagram posts. Does the FBI have any information about any connection there between Cruz and ISIS?
No, sir, we do not.
Has there been any investigation to see whether there may be any connection?
There absolutely has, sir. We did a very extensive social media scrub on Nicholas Cruz. And just to give you a scope of the scale of these types of investigations, Mr. Cruz had over 1 million images alone, and we have reviewed tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of pages, thousands of videos. This is one person. There is so much on social media for us to review today. But to answer your question directly, we did not find any sort of a connection to ISIS or any other.
Were any of the million images that were noted, did those come from ISIS sources? Obviously, you got the name ISIS from somewhere.
Not to my knowledge, not to my knowledge, sir, but I've not seen it all.
Yeah. So you don't know if those were viewed?
I've been told clearly by our counterterrorism division, we do not see any sort of a connection between ISIS or any other foreign terrorist.
Connection means a communication.
Yes, sir.
Correct? But it doesn't mean he wasn't inspired by information from ISIS, correct?
That's correct, sir.
Did the agent supervisor at the FBI's public access line at CJIS listen to the call made by the woman on January 5th?
No, sir, he did not.
Should that have been brought to the agent supervisor's attention?
It was brought to his attention. We would have preferred him to review it. And today, if that same call came in, he would be required to review it.
Thank you. And I hear my friends on the left of this dais and the left of the political spectrum, for the last 13 years I've been in Congress, repeatedly demanding that we should not claim an absolute right or wrong. We should look at things as being more relative. Not really a morality, but more like amorality, one word. Let's let people make up their own minds as to what's right and wrong. And that appears to be behind this idea that if we just don't arrest people, if we don't enforce the clear rule of law that's in black and white, this is right, this is wrong, if we don't enforce that, we don't arrest people, then all is better, when actually that led to his ability to buy a gun. And the problem is not the gun, it's the one that holds it. As someone who spent 4 years in our military training with such weapons, it was not the weapon, it was the holder. Like the law, it can be used to build up or it can be used to destroy. It can be used to protect or destroy. John Adams said This Constitution is for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate for a governing of any other. And I would submit we got to get rid of the Second Amendment, First Amendment, get rid of free speech because that offends people and causes violence if we are not going to get back to having a right and wrong. I yield back.